Hey guys, just a quick one. I was just about to jump on a call with Katherine Olson, a former Scientologist and Sea Org member, when Andrew Gold, a former BBC journalist, put a live up on his YouTube channel interviewing a current Scientologist. It was a really fascinating interview. I would 100% recommend going to check it out, but I wanted to just upload this little teaser from my chat with Katherine. I managed to ask a question to this current Scientologist, and I just wanted to get Katherine's reaction. So have a look, I think you'll find it interesting, and go check out the full video if you haven't already on Andrew Gold's On the Edge.
I don't know what that is.
Apostate Alex, what do you say to people like me who used to be staff at London Org and was locked in a room, not allowed to leave by a flag-trained ethics officer?
I would say, what did you do that was out ethics? That's my answer. They'll know what I mean by that. They'll know what I mean. No, they'll know what I mean by that. They'll know. What did you do that was out ethics? That's this is
where we disagree. This is it, because it feels like a lot you, like deflect.
Because I don't know what they did. No, because I don't know what they did.
Doesn't matter.
To be in an out ethics situation. I don't know.
It doesn't matter. You should never.
First off, right, I'm loving Andrew for pushing this, right? Honestly, it gets better.
Be locked in a room unless you're part of a cult.
All I can say is, what did you do that provided the out ethics environment that you were locked in a room? You know, what did you do?
Well, what would be good enough for you? What kind of thing?
I mean, it's their journey, it's their story. It could be anything that they could have done that would be considered out ethics. And it's not that they lock you in the room, it's just that they want to resolve the issue, which is not so much about locking you in there. It's people don't want to resolve issues. Like when there's an out ethics situation where you've done something, let's say hypothetically you stole something from the store, in Scientology, and you're a Sea Org member, and that's considered out ethics because you're stealing. So a lot of people don't want to face it. They don't want to face what they've done, and a lot of people also leave Scientology because they just, for whatever reason, don't want to give up their drug problem. They don't want to. And you can't study Scientology if you're currently on any kind of pills or anything. You can't study it. So
you don't lock someone in a room. Can we at least agree then? I know you were saying
locking him in a room. It's more they want to resolve the issue. They want to get to the bottom of, what's the issue that's really going on here? Because 9 times out of 10, it's not really what you think it is. It really isn't.
Yeah. To me, okay, can we at least agree? Because I know you were saying it wouldn't matter that much if it were a cult, but that we're beginning to sort of talk about very culty elements here. We're talking about locking people in rooms. We're talking about.
Well, how come I haven't been locked in a room then? How come I have no reality on that?
Well, I think that's why
I'm sure
you have a different view.
I mean, I've never seen them lock anybody in a room. I've never heard of it before. So it's just not something that's real to me. I've just never seen anything. And again, I've been in for almost 10 years.
But you didn't suggest that you didn't believe him, though. The first thing you said was like, "Oh, well, what did he do?" It felt like
it could.
That's something that very well happens.
All right, so I'll clarify. So it's not that I think they would actually lock him in a room. I think that they would want to get to the bottom of what's really going on. Because again, a lot of times when someone wants to leave Scientology, there's a really strange reason behind it. Like they find out they're pregnant, and they really oh gosh, I really need to leave Scientology now because I'm pregnant, and I want to have the kid, and or I don't want to be in the Sea Org anymore. And I think the thing about Scientology is you really just have to be very honest with everything. Otherwise, you're just going to get in a whole bunch of trouble with yourself. You know what I mean? You have to be honest. You have to be able to be like, okay, this is why I'm upset with Scientology. It's because I secretly am going off and using Xanax every day, or whatever it is.
So.
Oh wow. Oh my God.
Right.
Unreal.
What are your thoughts off the bat?
That's exactly what they would say. That's what I would have said, 5 years ago or something. Or I would have been like, oh yeah, she's totally right. That's why people leave. Because if you have that as your like, I don't know how to put this in I don't know how to put this in non-Scientology terms, but if you have as your stable datum, right? that people leave because of their own overs and withholds.
Mhm.
And you have that really as your idea of that's what happens. That's the way it is. It doesn't matter what anyone says to you. You're going to argue that point. So I don't know how I don't know how to get around that with somebody who thinks that.
This was, for me, like a textbook answer. When I asked that question, I had in my mind what I thought she was going to say, and it was almost word for word, because
Right.
I would have said the same thing. I probably would have worded it in a slightly different way, but it's just, I find it interesting that she hears the story of me being locked in a room and not being able to leave by a flag trained ethics officer, and her response isn't, oh, that sounds really bad. You know, firstly, whether or not that's true, that's a horrible thing for someone to go through, and, you know, I'm sorry to hear that, you know, with sympathy and empathy. None of that. Is just, what did you do wrong? What did you do to cause yourself to be in that situation? And I love Andrew for putting her up on it and going, well, you didn't say you thought he was lying, so you must think that that is something that could happen. And she's right in that, you know, people in Scientology want to just, you know, apply the tech and forcefully make sure it's done correctly. And but she kind of says, well, you know, I wouldn't say
Yeah, but
people
also
really get
there's
locked
no
in
empathy.
rooms.
There's no empathy. And other people have made this point, is that there's just no empathy. It's like, oh, well, what did you do? It's always, what did you do? It's not, okay, what happened to you? And if it was like an abusive situation, it's not, they don't say things like, oh, I'm really sorry that happened. That shouldn't have happened to you. That was an abusive situation. They don't say that.
Yeah.
It's always, what did you do? What did you do?
She doesn't say that isn't, if it was completely wrong and something is not what Scientology does, she would have said, I don't know the context, but that's absolutely not something that Scientology does. And it sounds like something's been done incorrectly here. I don't think that Scientology has been done properly, and that's not something that we do. She didn't outright deny it. She kind of skirted around it and was like, well, we don't really lock people in rooms. I'm like, well, I'm sorry. I'm telling you I was. This is what happened. So
Right.
are you telling me I'm lying? Or, you know, where's the empathy? And I don't know. The comeback of, well, I've never seen that happen. That doesn't mean it doesn't happen.
That's a famous one. That's a famous one. If you watch any of these interviews that especially Tommy Davis did in the past when he was the PR for the church, and somebody would ask him a question like that, or just a similar kind of thing, and be like, well, I've never heard of that. I've never heard of that being done. Okay, just because you haven't heard of it doesn't mean it hasn't happened. So
I would say the same thing.
When it did happen, you're saying I never heard of it happening. Okay, so you didn't hear their story. Okay, big deal. That's not the point.
Yeah, I would say the same thing when I was out book selling and, you know, giving people tours around the org, and people would ask me about Xenu. I would say, I'm a staff member. I would know. I've never seen anything about Xenu or aliens. So therefore, I can't say that that's true, because I'm a Scientologist. I'm a staff member, and I haven't seen. So therefore, it's not. That doesn't mean it's not there. I just haven't achieved that level yet. Right.
Yeah. Then the people who have read about that and have studied up to that level, they'll just lie about it and say, well, that's not what it is. It's being misrepresented.
Yeah.
So either
100%.
way, yeah.
Crazy.
I can't,
anyway,
I'm still trying to get over the fact that an actual Scientologist is on YouTube having that conversation with somebody.
Oh, yeah.
I would love to know what happens with her.
I think tomorrow she's going to wake up and be pulled into ethics, and she's not going to do any follow-up interviews with anyone and be in some serious ethics.
Yeah,
trouble.
And maybe, I don't know,
Unless
maybe
the church,
maybe they'll declare and she'll start speaking, you know, online all the time or something. I don't know.
Yeah, unless the church authorized it and kind of told her to do it. and she
No.
was authorized, which I
Would
doubt.
never
but
do that. They would never, ever, ever send just a random Scientologist to speak on behalf of Scientology. Not unless it's someone who's authorized by, unless things have changed so much that I don't know what's going on there anymore. But unless it's authorized by David Miscavige, it's no way is anyone going to speak publicly to somebody like Andrew.
And
No
she's
way.
going to get in trouble on two fronts. One, for speaking to an SP, Andrew Gold, and that even if she didn't speak publicly, the fact that she's emailed him and they've agreed and they've done the interview, she's going to get done on the PTS SP stuff. And then she's also going to get done for speaking out against Scientology. But she's not speaking out against Scientology, but speaking out about Scientology without prior authorization. But
yeah, and
I don't think the interview...
Speaking to a critic of Scientology without being like an authorized PR person or something, you know.
But I don't think it's a bad thing. I think more people should do this. You know, if
I
managed to get her on my channel, I would love to speak to some
they got a bunch
current
of
members.
just regular Scientologists having conversations like this, maybe they could, I don't know, somehow recover some of their horrible PR. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. At least somebody would be saying something, because right now all they do is somebody sends a letter to the press or they just don't say anything. Like,
and that doesn't help them in any way.
No public speaking. There's no person who's speaking on behalf of the church, except for, I guess, once in a while Monique Yangling, the attorney, speaks, but she's not even a Scientologist, and she just says like the bare minimum. So
this is the first time I've seen a current member not interrogated, but asked some really tough questions by a journalist who, and Andrew did a really good job of actually pushing it and kind of saying, well, hold on, what do you mean by that? And, you know, I would definitely recommend watching the whole interview. It's fascinating. But he doesn't just back off and say, what do you say? What do you think about this? He challenges it and goes, well, hold on, that doesn't match up. You didn't therefore deny that happened. So, you know, he pushes, which I think is good. And I haven't seen that happen before in a way that's not in like a BBC Panorama documentary. It's completely critical about Scientology. This was just a live stream Q&A with a Scientologist. Yeah.